From coup attempts, geopolitical moves to new alliances, President Ibrahim Traoré is moving things in a way that continues to break unbreakable barriers. The captain is continuously exposing the games that the Western governments have been playing concerning geopolitics. Africa has been watching. The world is watching. Now, it is time the African continent creates a new path tailored for transformation like never before. The games the West has been playing seems not working this time round. How hell on earth, General Langley drops pepper on the wound that Africans have been silently treating.
Though, in which the ruling elite of a country is receiving gratuities on the side that inure to the benefit of the strongman leader and not to the populace of the country. Does that sort of corruption and bribery go on with regard to the Belt and Road?
Absolutely, Chairman. You know, I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traoré and Burkina Faso, you know, as they know that both, you know, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
Is it all because President Ibrahim Traoré did the unthinkable by welcoming allies that the West continuously gets sleepless nights from? Why do they even bother to intervene when they had been in the driving seat for oh long that their being in Africa just didn't create the desired format of life Africans would wish to have? Now fresh allies come in that Africa has never had of any chaos they ever created on the continent. Yet they have been just coming in to assist where Africa needed help. These new allies don't force, but just collaborate. They don't show commitment, and at the back, they practice like a chameleon. Ever since Russia's involvement with President Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso has and increasingly tapping into the new atmosphere full of transformation and unity, aimed at creating everlasting peace. If President Ibrahim Traoré wants to gain Burkina Faso's gold for his own benefits, why huge crowds gather to show support for his work? Before President Ibrahim Traoré's rise into power, North Korea wished to collaborate with the Sahel country. But guess what? Just because the government in power had fear of what the West would say, it couldn't manage to tap into North Korea's arsenal, yet the West it was fearing couldn't provide the necessary weapons to fight terrorism. But right now, President Ibrahim Traoré is breaking unbreakable barriers, countries that those previous governments were fearing to invite, because of fear of sanctions they carried from the West. The captain is welcoming them like never before. You know, the major issue here is mutual benefit. The African continent has carried insufficiency concerning mutual benefit with former colonial masters. The continent has always been waiting for what the West had to say about major ongoing issues on the African continent. When mass protests against Gaddafi erupted in Libya, the African Union had to wait for what the West had to say and decide, a thing that declared Africa's inability to solve major issues by itself. The rise of Pan-Africanists for this case, President Ibrahim Traoré continues to show that Africa has a right to collaborate with whoever it wishes to, as long as it is for the good cause. The nations that the captain is creating alliances with have managed to show that you don't need to wait for another person's decision to act. Even though international bodies have imposed international sanctions against North Korea. Concerning North Korea's nuclear weapons program, the Asian giant has managed to thrive as long as it is for the good of the country. When it comes to different sectors, mainly technological advancements, the African continent has always been the tail, while the rest of the world running like a rocket concerning technology. This has even appeared in the fight against extremist groups. These groups of militants have managed to thrive because African governments lack the necessary weapons to fight against them. Using outdated weapons and being at the mercy of waiting for assistance from the West had put the continent in a vulnerable position of uncertainty. Now, that new Pan-Africanists are bold enough. They are applying the spirit of mutual benefit to receive the necessary equipment to fight insurgency for good. The West must know that. This new shift is being watched by Africans themselves, who now understand what true democracy and sovereignty mean. Not the one that the West carefully crafted that hasn't yielded any positive results for the continent. When the West talks about mutual benefit, the continent sinks into chaos full of debts and conflicts. The West knows that provision of huge sums of money in form of loans can't work smoothly. It knows that the majority of Africans, mostly leaders, have no experience of dealing with money in a way that could provide the best for their countries. This is why new Pan-Africanists are embracing the drive of mutual benefit, involving using what you have to get what you don't have. But how does this work? It seems the West had crafted well the drive of neo-colonialism. The thing which has been disturbing Africa is neo-colonialism. African countries have always been at the mercy of former colonial masters. The inability to promote the spirit of mutual benefit, always waiting for assistance to come in form of loans and grants, not looking for possible ways to negotiate based on what the continent can offer without first consulting. The West, coming in as former colonial master, declared that event how it provided independence. It still had to intervene in every matter on the continent, majorly politics, and how the continent trades with the West. AGOA, while offering duty-free access to the US market, faces several challenges for African countries. These include inadequate infrastructure, policy and capacity issues, uneven distribution of benefits, and the need for more comprehensive market access measures beyond AGOA. Many African countries struggle with poor infrastructure, including transportation networks, port facilities, and logistics systems, making it difficult to efficiently export goods to the US. High transportation costs, customs delays, and unreliable supply chains increase the cost and competitiveness of African goods in the US market. Africa possesses vast mineral resources, including key metals like cobalt, manganese, copper, and platinum group metals. Leading mineral producers include the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, Gabon, and Zambia. However, a significant portion of these minerals are currently exported in their raw form for refining elsewhere, leaving Africa with limited processing capacity and economic benefits. In West Africa, where the most gold and oil come from, has faced the same challenges. Coupled with unending conflicts, these mineral-rich areas in Africa have been a significant source of conflict, fueling armed groups and human rights abuses. Armed groups exploit and control mining operations for financial gain, often using violence against civilians and engaging in forced labor. The illegal trade of minerals like tin, tantalum, tungsten, and gold, 3TG, is a key driver of conflict, as these minerals are used in high-demand electronics. This is where Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Turkey, among others, are coming in to work mutually with the Sahel region, primarily through security assistance and totally fair resource extraction agreements, particularly with new transformative leaders like President Ibrahim Traoré that have come to power to change the common narrative of conflicts in their region. The rapidly deteriorating security situation in the Sahel, which had been caused by the US and France's dwindling presence there, has made room for several new players, notably Russia and China, among others. many countries in the region continue to nurture a soft spot for Russia, recalling how the Soviet Union supported their liberation struggle. With its focus on collective defense and a framework of mutual assistance, the AES is increasingly aligning itself with the characteristics of an African NATO. In the future, with Russian support, AES may consider inviting nations to be observers and conducting joint military and counterterrorism simulation exercises to promote unity that can build a non-Western regional security partnership. Maybe this is what the West doesn't want to happen. Russia and the West engagement in Africa are different. With Russia seeking to provide military assistance and fair trade agreements, Western presence is looked at in a perspective of neo-colonialism, particularly in regions like West and Central Africa. This competition is fueled by Western sanctions against Russia,